top 3, so number 18, Sid, this one's for you.
Woo! The Nature Boy, Ric Flair. Now, what can I say about him? WrestleMania 8, most of his story was not actually in WWF at the beginning, so he didn't come in until Mania 8, where he went straight for the title, and he lost the title match against Savage, but he was boasting that he had a prior relationship with Elizabeth, so this was quite a good build up going into this. Then he took a 10-year absence and came back and tried to go for the streak against Taker. Very good storyline, personal storyline going into this, and a good display of wrestling for a guy that was a lot older against Taker. Put on a good show. WrestleMania 20, this was with Evolution, and it was against the Rock and Sock Connection, so he was quite a funny character to watch in this. Mania 22, this was a Money in the Bank. Now for an old Flair, he took a massive bump off the ladder, which you got to check out if you haven't. Mania 23, he was teamed up with Carlito. He won against Chavo and Gregory Helms. Not a massive match, but fair play to him being in Mania 23. And 24, now this was his win or retire, a retirement match against Michaels. He'd had a load of retirement matches building up to this one, and this was it, where Michaels super kicked him out of the WWE. Now this was a great match, probably one of his best, and he was also inducted into the Hall of Fame this year for the first time. So not this year, but WrestleMania 24. So a great year for him all round. That was Flair's year, in my opinion, WrestleMania 24.
Right, number 17, Roddy Piper. Now this guy, obviously he was in the tag team match at the first ever WrestleMania 1, so it started all that automatically, I think, as being the main guy in the heel team, would catapult him to a contender straight away to be in the top 30 personalities of the WrestleMania. And then you had the match WrestleMania 2 against Mr. T, which was a boxing match, so that was also a big high profile match for him. So you're already talking like first 2 WrestleManias, he's one of the main guys in the company. And then WrestleMania 3, I think it was actually billed as one of his last match, I believe.
Yeah, but, it was, yeah.
Obviously that didn't happen, but still a major guy in the company. He's had a good few Piper's pits. I remember one at WrestleMania 5. Then he came back into the wrestling for a little while with the match against Bad News Brown, WrestleMania 6, and then he was involved in the DiBiase angle with Virgil a little bit at WrestleMania 7. And my personal favourite match of Roddy Piper at WrestleMania is against Bret Hitman Hart, defending the Intercontinental title at WrestleMania 8. Still one of my favourite Intercontinental matches of all time, and I think Piper was the first time he's been pinned in his career, I believe. That's one of the statistics on it. Wow. I don't know how accurate that is, but I've heard that from a few sources, and that is the case. Then it means an even more memorable situation there. He had a little bit of a break from WWF at the time, and then came back to fight Goldust in a Hollywood backlot brawl, which was quite entertaining and stretched throughout the whole WrestleMania pay-per-view. So
yeah, that was unique, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, he's had a few referee appearances as well here and there, and like I said, Piper's Pits. But those segments there, those matches, I think cement him as a big-time legend, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him. I know he did something at WrestleMania 25, that match with Steamboat and Snooker against Jericho, but I wouldn't be surprised if Roddy Piper is involved with WrestleMania 30.
Well, there we go. I reckon possibly so.
Yeah.
He always adds a bit of spice to a WrestleMania when Piper's involved.
Oh yeah.
So I personally would love to see him involved in WrestleMania 30 somehow.
Right, number 16.
And in at number 16 is our only tag team on the list, is the Hardy Boys. And they had a kind of short but sweet WrestleMania career as the Hardys. I mean, WrestleMania 16 their ladder match with the Dudleys and Edge and Christian. I think many put that down as, you know, one of the best matches at WrestleMania ever of all time. I mean, just some of the spots in that match. I mean, when you've got Jeff, you know, he's climbing up the ladder and then Edge off the turnbuckle spears him while he's climbing up the ladder. We thought, wow, that was amazing. And then at WrestleMania 17, they go one better. But at 16, it was great. Just when you saw when he had Billy Ray, Bubba Ray, on the table, and Jeff climbs up that ladder, and then he swantons him through the table. That was just an amazing spot. I hadn't seen anything like that or anywhere close to that before at WrestleMania, and that was special. And then you had right at the very end of that match as well, you had when Edge and Christian were at the top with Matt, and they kind of had the table laid out, and Matt was there, and then they pushed him off, and Matt flipped and fell through the table, and I was booing. You can't just give all the credit to Jeff. Matt took some bumps as well, and I mean, their matches were amazing. And WrestleMania 17 as well, I mean, there were some big bumps taken there. I mean, Matt got gored through a table by Rhino, and then right at the end as well, he went flying through loads of stacked tables with Devon, and that was when Jeff, he swanton. I think it was not only, I think he swantoned Rhino and Spike as well at the same time, I think. You know, to the outside on the tables, and then he took that unbelievable spear from Edge, and they were always must see when they were on a card. You always wanted to see the Hardys, and then the next time we kind of saw them really together was at Mania 25 when they were against each other, and I mean in an Extreme Rules match, and I think it was quite appropriate for the two of them being in an Extreme Rules match against each other.
I think it was the best way, being a team that whole time, building up that sort of following that legacy of that tag team throughout WrestleMania, which was arguably probably the best tag team resume of WrestleMania, and then to finish it against each other at WrestleMania 25 was a nice fitting end to them.
Yeah, so it's a short but sweet career. What I think, you know, deserves that spot on the list.
Yeah. Right, well, speaking of that, I think you've got one of your favourites coming up next.
One of my personal favourites, my all-time favourite, in at number 15, Chris Jericho. And his debut was at 16 in that match we've already spoke about with Kurt Angle and Chris Benoit, where he walked away with the European title. I was always a little bit annoyed at the time because he was supposed to be in the Fatal 4-Way and got bumped out of that by Foley, so I was a bit annoyed about that. But he had a decent match and won the European title. So and then at 17 he was against William Regal, where he took the Intercontinental title.
Yeah.
So that's not bad, from European to Intercontinental. And then at 18 he got to the main event with the undisputed WWE title against Triple H, where he lost. But I mean, at that point, Triple H, everyone knew he was going to win the title, and somebody needed to be there, to drop the title to him. And obviously they must have fought quite a lot of Jericho to give that spot to him, and put on a fairly good match with Triple H then.
The next 19, I'd say, was my favourite for Jericho, though.
Absolutely.
I mean, that stole the show. That was a great Mania anyway, but I mean, I think that match was my favourite of the night.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think everyone agrees. But of 19, that was the best match. And at the end as well, when they went for the when they went for the hug, and it's so typical. But in those big matches, it always ends in a hug, and you're always kind of thinking, oh, come on, not this again. And I was kind of, when they were hugging, I was like, you know what? Because it's these two, I'll allow it. It's okay. And then boom.
You actually respected Jericho even more for it in a way.
And then at 20, he was up against. Who was he up against? It was Christian. Was it?
When Trish turned against him, and they had that little love triangle going on.
Yeah, I mean, that was actually quite a good match and a good storyline. It wasn't obviously one of the headliners or anything, but I mean, sometimes you need those good kind of solid matches in the card there somewhere, and definitely provided it. And then at 21, he was in the Money in the Bank. Well, obviously he came up with the idea of it, so it was quite fitting, really. And then he had a break for a bit, didn't he? He
did. He had a break for a little while, and actually returned in another for WrestleMania. He could return to another Money in the Bank match at WrestleMania 24, didn't he?
Yeah.
And
that
was
and then have the Legends match.
Yeah. 25.
Well, he did a great job there, and then he called out Mickey Rourke, didn't he? And then he got knocked out by Mickey Rourke.
Yeah.
At the end of that, and then at 26 against Edge, great match there.
And he came out on top as well. I was quite surprised.
Yeah, I was surprised by that. But being a big Jericho fan, I was pretty happy with that. Didn't see him at 27, but then at 28 had a great match with Punk. Already spoke about that match. I won't go on about it. At 29. And then, I doubt we'll see him at 30, but I'm sure his WrestleMania career isn't over.
Right, number 14, another commentary duo. And it is Gorilla and Jesse the Body Ventura.
Wow.
Now, when you think old school WrestleMania, you think commentary, it's Gorilla Monsoon all over it. And whether or not it's a combination of Bobby the Brain Heenan and Jesse Ventura, it didn't matter to me. But I mean, if you're going through the amount of times they've been commentating together, the matches, the high caliber matches that they called together, I'd say you'd have to go with Gorilla Monsoon and Jesse Ventura. I mean, the two that spring to mind the most is the Andre the Giant Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior Hulk Hogan match. But I mean, you've got a hell of a lot in between. And you've got the chemistry between the two. I love the way that Gorilla Monsoon was the play-by-play, and Jesse the Body Ventura was he was the heel, but he always was reasonable.
Yeah, he was.
He wasn't blowout heel. Kind of reminds me, JBL is slightly like him. You can be heel, but you can be reasonable at the same time. And Jesse the Body Ventura was bang on the button with that. And those are some of the best WrestleManias in for me for commentary, because of Gorilla Monsoon and Jesse Ventura were just so good together. And the last match they called at WrestleMania was the Ultimate Challenge, and I couldn't think of a better way to go out than to have Gorilla Monsoon and Jesse call that one, and call it the way they did. Well deserved, and I think one of the greatest, if not the greatest, commentary duo.
Absolutely.
Right, over to you, Sid, for number 13.
Number 13, Edge, the rated R superstar. Now, we'll say that WrestleMania 16 was his first one in a ladder match against the Hardys and the Dudleys, a triple threat tag team ladder match. This was, what can you say about this match? It paved the way for a lot of ladder matches in the future and tag team matches. I think this kind of match actually invented the Money in the Bank, because they won this, so a very good win at that Mania. For Edge, when he teamed up with Christian, sorry, I didn't say he was teaming with Christian. WrestleMania 17, also a tag team match. Mania 18, he won against Booker T, so a pretty good match there. Money in the Bank winner, the first ever at WrestleMania 21. Foley hardcore match at 22, where he took a lot of bumps, and he looked like a credible star after that match, after Foley put him over. Mania 24, he went for the streak, and what a wrestling match that was, outdoors in Orlando. Great match, and Edge put on a brilliant wrestling performance there. Mania 25, he lost his title against Cena and Big Show in a triple threat. Great match, not the biggest of that year, but it was a good match. Mania 26, he lost against Jericho. And Mania 27, and he retained it against Alberto Del Rio, who was the Rumble winner. That wasn't too bad, and Christian was in his corner, quite an emotional. He was a very babyface character at this time. Quite an emotional match. Not that people knew, but the week after he retired, WrestleMania 28 was his Hall of Fame retirement. Quite a sad case for Edge, because he would have gone on to maybe headline a lot more WrestleManias in the future. Great character. Number 13 is very justifiable for Edge.